Hey, y'all, welcome back to the Late Night Vision Show. This is episode 43, and I'm not going to waste any time right now. I'm going to bring in my co-host, the one, the only, the man that can talk the horns off a billy goat, Mr. Jason Robertson. How you doing, bud?
I don't know if that's a compliment, but I'm just going to take it as one. We'll just go with it. And I'm doing great. What's going on over in the big metropolis of Ben Wheeler, Texas?
Ben Wheeler. Yes, sir. Everything's great. You know, we got a good show today, and I know we've got a very special guest coming up very soon. We don't want to say any dates because we don't know exactly when the show's going to be coming out, but we have confirmed that we are going to have a special guest by the name of Mr. Glenn Guess. And if you haven't heard of him, which you probably have, he's got Hog Zombies. It's something that he does on YouTube, but he is the man that is famous. And I'm jealous because I have not got anywhere close to being able to be successful with this. But the man famous for being able to call in hogs with a caller. And man, I seen his videos, and I want to talk to him because I want him to tell me how he does it because I've not been successful at doing it at all.
Yeah, Glenn, I'm very excited about it. I spoke with him a couple days ago. We talked for a long time, and I'm going to tell you something. If you think I talk a lot, then wait till you get Glenn and I in the room together because we may have to break this podcast into about 4 episodes. But no, he's a super nice guy. I can't wait to get him on the show. Just in our 20, 30-minute conversation, just shooting the bull, I learned a whole bunch of stuff about hogs that I didn't know, learned a lot about calling hogs, and this is the man. He doesn't call just hogs either. I mean, he is known for calling all kinds of animals, coyotes, whitetails, all kinds of different things. But I'm going to tell you, he knows a lot about it. And, you know, I know some people may not be familiar with him. A lot of you know him as a household name. Go check him out on YouTube. Search for Hog Zombies. You can, search for Glenn Guess. You'll see a lot of stuff. He's got a very active Facebook page, a lot of stuff going on. And I think it's going to be exciting. I know some people are familiar with him because of the convergent game calls, the caller. They actually have the Glenn Guess calls actually built into their callers, the hog calls. So anyway, we're going to be having him on there. I don't want to talk much more about it and give away any of the secrets. We'll let him do it. But he's a great guy, and I'm excited about having him on the Late Night Vision Show.
I'm probably going to have a list of about 15 questions. We may have to limit it, but I know I've got a ton of things to ask him because I've tried to call in hogs. There's a lot of people out there that ask about it. You know, they message me, they message us all the time about it. Really, I mean, that's going to be a great topic. I'm excited to have Glenn on the show, and I want him to talk a little bit about his convergent caller with the app and all that. But like I said, we'll let him get into that. But stay tuned. Keep on the socials. You know, go check out us on Facebook and on Instagram to be able to see when that show is going to be coming out. We will be hopefully taping that very soon. But hey, I know a lot of you have tuned in recently. You've heard some updates about some of the new thermal and night vision stuff coming out, specifically the Wraith, the Axions, the Thermions. Where are we at right now on the Wraiths and Axions, Jason?
Oh man, they've all shipped. They're here, and if you haven't heard, you've missed. Now I'm just teasing. Calm down. Do not dial my phone number. I'm only teasing. You know what? I did talk to SiteMark Pulsar this week just to try to get an update. I tell you what, let's use this real quick and let's just talk about inventory again right now because it's plaguing this whole market. Inventory is extremely hard to get. I know you've heard us, talk about that on here before. Nothing's really changed. Pulsar is still way behind. Stuff's trickling in as it does. It's pretty much pre-sold. Same thing with FLIR. They're way behind on shipments as well, several months. Mm-hmm. So I know I have people calling and going, well, nobody's got this stuff. And that's right. Nobody does. And when somebody gets it, most dealers, if they're very busy, they've probably already got a list and that stuff's going out the door as soon as they get it. There may be a couple scopes sitting around, but they are not lasting long. So we're still in that busy time and in a weird time with just not a lot of inventory. But, Envision, the Halo is supposed to be coming out any day now. I think we were originally supposed to be getting them around this time. The last I heard was maybe another week or two. So we're waiting on the halos. Can't wait to get our hands on those. And we're going to be, obviously, as soon as we get them, you'll hear about it on here. And then Hans and I'll be testing them. The Wraith looks like the Sight Marker Wraith. I know that's been a big topic with a lot of guys. That's generated, more discussion, more pre-orders than anything we've ever dealt with at Outdoor Legacy in 6 years. Mm-hmm. But that scope, talking to Sightmark last week, sounds to me like it is still on go for the second or third week in March, if all goes well. I mean, granted, that is a, kind of a temporary date there, but it looks like everything is going on time with that. So hopefully they're going to hit that mark. I don't think it's going to be any sooner, but hopefully it won't be any later than that. We'll just have to wait and see. Same thing with the Pulsar Axions. All looks good. Looks like April is probably what it's going to be if everything continues to go well. They said they did not have a date on the calendar yet that they had received saying when the first shipment would likely come. And sometimes the way that works is they'll get a schedule of an estimate of what's going to be on their shipments, and they may get that 2 to 4 weeks in advance, and it doesn't mean that it's always accurate. So there may be something new. It may show up on the schedule, and then it may not actually show up for, a few more weeks. But the last that I heard last week, the Axions had not showed up on that list yet. So that's going to tell us that, again, they're probably looking like at least 2 to 4 weeks out, which I think that's expected. They're just not on the list yet. So we're still shooting for April. Hopefully that happens. If not, hopefully it'll be soon after that. Thermions, everything's still pointing until, July, August, whatever. And, one thing we might have said this, I think I might have said it last week. I'm going to say it again. The pre-orders have been huge on all of this stuff. And so I would say if you've already got your pre-order in, sit tight. And as much as I hate to say, kind of pretend like it's a suppressor. And you just put it in and forget about it, because it's going to take a while. Even when they start shipping, they're going to trickle in. But anyway, just don't want to give that quick update. Everything still seems to be on go. No major changes. I think the first thing, honestly, we hope to get is going to be the Envision Halos. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. Well, I know that as soon as all this stuff comes in, we'll start testing it, reviewing it. That whenever this comes in, we're going to be doing the reviews as quick as we can. We know there's a lot of people in there that, out there that have a lot of questions about the performance of these scopes, and that you can definitely find that here. Breaking news for anything night vision and thermal related scopes and optics. But today, what we're going to be talking about is a little Q&A. We've got, first of all, we want to thank all the people that reach out to us. It's, Jason, seems like at times it's hard to keep up with all the emails and contact that's coming in. We definitely look at all of it. We try to respond to everything that comes in. We get a lot of questions, a lot of people asking about scopes, and sometimes those responses take a long time and they're very detailed. But we want to get to a couple emails from a couple listeners today. Jason's going to be talking about one. I'm going to be talking about an email that comes in, and let's just go ahead and kick off yours. I've got mine printed out, ready to go, but I'm going to save it for the end.
Yeah, I just want to say one more quick thing to that is we absolutely we want your feedback. I know we say it every week on the show, but we're serious about it, folks. There's a lot of topics that you think of that Hans and I may not. A lot of the topics that we come up with, I'd say the majority, are things that we've been asked about. And I know sometimes people send us a topic and we may reply. If we're busy, we may not. And it'll be like, hey, maybe that's something we really can't talk about, or there's some reason it's not a full show, or whatever. We try to get to a lot of it, but keep sending them in. A lot of times I say, hey, send us 5 things and one of them may stick. It may be something that we can do, or sometimes people send us stuff and it's something they don't realize that we've already talked about it maybe a few weeks ago. Maybe they're a new listener, but send this to us. Call us. We'll give all that contact info at the end of the show, but we're very serious. We want your feedback, and it helps us because every week we've got to come up with show topics, and we're here doing this for y'all, so we want to talk about what y'all want to hear about. So anyway.
Yeah, and the last couple of months was very heavy with the SHOT Show new products announcing coming out. We were busy and stacked up every week. We knew what was going on. We've got a little bit of a break now from all of that stuff, and now we're going through the emails and finding different topics. So yeah, like Jason said, keep those coming in. We'll give contact information at the end. But I know the first topic you have has a lot to do, has everything to do with something that I know a lot of hog hunters are worried about, and that's where can I go hunt?
Wow. This is something that we've got a couple of voicemails about it. We got a couple of emails about it. I get asked about it on the phone a lot. And so I just wanted to kind of highlight one of the voicemails, and I'm not going to play it for you. It was kind of long, but I'm going to just kind of give you the overview. The guy's name's Leighton. And he called in about a month ago, left this message. He's from near Shreveport, Louisiana, northwest Louisiana, for those that don't know. It's over here close to my stomping grounds. And Leighton sounds like a great guy, a good old boy, and a kind of guy that I'd like to hang around with. And he sounds very respectful, very well-mannered, just a good Southern boy. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because I think that's important. His comment was he and his buddy, they've got thermals. They've been trying for a year and a half to get access on places to hunt hogs. And he said, man, we have done everything we know to do. He said, we've talked to a lot of farmers, a lot of landowners. He said, we go in, we tell them what we do. We offer to go kill the hogs for them. And he made the comment, we're very kind, we're respectful, we're well-mannered, and I could tell that by listening to the guy on the phone. He was. And he said, we make every offer. If you don't want us to drive in, we'll walk in. If you don't want us to, shoot in a certain field, we won't. If you only want us to be there certain days, certain hours, shoot a certain direction. I mean, it was, you could tell. He was saying and doing all the right things. And he said, people are very kind to us. He said, nobody's rude. He said, but we have a whole lot of trouble getting access to land. And one of the issues, he said, there in Louisiana is that you can't virtually illegal to hunt on public land at night. I know a lot of states are that way. You can't hunt at night. So what is a thermal or night vision hunter to do when he's got all the gear and he needs a place to hunt? I mean, I know that we've all dealt with this, Hans. I know you and I both have. Even though we hunt family land, there comes times when you've hunted it out for a while and you need somewhere to go.
So I'm going to offer a couple pieces of information and advice. As somebody that has land, a landowner, and somebody that knows people that own lots of land, most landowners' number one concern about letting people onto their land, especially people that they don't know, or somebody that, that if you live in a small town like I do, people, but you don't really know them sometimes. You know them by name, family members. Most landowners are concerned about the liability of letting somebody onto their land, especially with guns and hunting and stuff like that, because everybody these days is worried about being sued and the financial liability of having somebody on their land and getting hurt, and what have you. What a lot of our buddies do now, and what I have an agreement, and I carry one around. Actually, I haven't approached it yet with any landowners, but I know a lot of buddies that do. They keep with them some liability waivers, just something that and you can find them online, generic copies of them, but just a liability waiver that you can sign and go show a landowner, here, I'm signing away your liability responsibility for me being on your land and hunting. And it's an official document. You're not having it notarized or anything, but it's a good faith gesture to the landowner that says, hey, I know you may be concerned about the liability of this. I'm going to go ahead and sign this right now and say that if anything happens to me on your land, that you're not liable or responsible, and you have that agreement and offer to sign it for them if you know them and you're in the area. But I think the single, other than that, the single most important thing and the bit of advice that I can share is most all places that I know of that people own land, farmland, they own run cattle, whatever. All of them want the hogs taken care of. All of them complain about it. All of them say it's a problem. Very few actually get out and do something about it because they just don't have the equipment or the time. But if you go by and you see, if you have a buddy that owns land, or if you go by and see a landowner and you talk to them, they'll say, yeah, hey, I wish somebody would take care of them, or I want those hogs gone. But what I know my buddies do, they will drive around. They'll take their thermals off their rifles, or they'll use a handheld binocular that videos, and they'll ride down county roads, and they know who owns which pieces of property. And if they see pigs in a field, they will video it, and they'll save that video. They'll either put it on, download it and put it on their phone or whatever. The next time they see that landowner, they can say, hey, I drove by your field the other night and I was able to get some video of these hogs. Show them the video of those hogs in their field doing a bunch of damage.
Wow.
And when they see
that is great.
yeah,
I've never heard of that. And that is a great idea.
So when they see that video evidence of hogs tearing up their field, it makes them even more infuriated. It makes them mad.
Well, and you've just proven that you've got something that sees at night and could see them and could have walked out there and killed them. I mean, you just proved not just a theory. I mean, you said, look, I could have gone out there and shot these hogs. And I would just say this. This is the first time I'm hearing this. Hans just said it, but be sure that you let them know you had this scope, or this was a handheld, and it was not on a rifle, and you were on public property. I mean, on the county road. I can already see them going, you crawled over my fence with your rifle to do this, so don't do that.
Yeah, you're on the county road. But when you show them that video, the video graphic evidence of the hogs tearing up their field, the first thing that they'll usually say is, man, next time you see that, please shoot them. And then you can say, I would love to, and just as good faith, I've got this liability waiver that I'm just going to go ahead and sign and give it to you right now, so and won't be concerned that if anything happens, or if they've got cattle, put a clause in the document that says I'm responsible for any. I don't plan on shooting any livestock, but if I am, I'm financially responsible for it. Show some good faith to the landowners, so they don't just think some random people are going to be coming on their land shooting everything up. Show that you're responsible. Show that you do your homework, and that you're almost a professional at doing this. People want to deal with professionals. That's the best piece of advice that I can give you, that I know that people are doing, because again, where we're at in East Texas, I don't know, across the country it's different, but there's just not, I don't know of any public land anywhere near me, because I get people ask all the time. I've looked and I really haven't seen any. It's all private land, and there's people out here that own a bunch of property and they can't keep up with the hog problem. But if you know them, if you know somebody that knows them, and you can share a video with them of some hogs tearing up a field, approach them in a respectful manner with some documentation. It really helps you get access to the land, other than just some guy saying, hey, I drove by and there was a hog. Can I go kill it? Right. And that's worked for a lot of people. And I think that's a good piece of advice to follow.
I'm going to say all that is excellent advice. And to be honest, I never even heard or thought about the video evidence, if you can get that. I would say that I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate here. And I would say, as a landowner myself, and I mean, Hans, I know you're in the same boat. I think what we've got to do as hunters when we're trying to get access is we've got to put ourselves in that landowner's shoes. And here's the thing. Yes, we all want to complain about hogs, and if we've got them as landowners, we do complain, and they may cause a ton of damage. But that doesn't mean that I necessarily want to allow a stranger with a high-powered rifle with a 30-round magazine to come out there at night while I'm in bed and shoot them. Yeah. I mean, I jokingly said this earlier today, was just because I've got roaches in my house, which I don't, thankfully, but if I've got roaches in my house and you're willing to come kill them, that doesn't mean I'm going to leave the door unlocked so you can come into the house at 2 a.m. when I'm asleep and stomp roaches. You go, well, that's weird. I wouldn't come into your house. Well, you know what? People's land is just as private and, as big or bigger investment. And, it's a lot of times it's weird having somebody else out on your property. We are in the day of lawsuits and all those things. And, no matter if you're not the guy who would shoot a cow, or you're not the guy who would shoot towards a barn or a house or a county road, or leave the gate open or do any of that, there's enough guys who do and have that it concerns landowners.
Well, my brother-in-law, a guy down the road, came to him, said he saw hogs. My brother-in-law said, "Yeah, you can shoot them if you see them." He went back the next week. This was at a house he was selling. There was a bullet hole through one of the wood columns on his porch
There you go.
from where that guy had shot at it and shot his house, and he had to go down there and say, "Hey, no more. You know, that's it."
And so that's the thing. You can't. I mean, you got. It's a two-way street. And so I'm going to say one more thing, and this is going to be foreign to some people. And by the way, this isn't just hogs. This is coyotes too. I've had the same thing from coyote hunters that asking the same thing. Now listen. This is probably going to come across wrong to some people, but I had a guy tell me he was from way up north in the Northwest, and we were kind of having this conversation, and he made the comment. He said, "I'll never spend one penny to hunt an animal." And he said, meaning to get access to that land. He said, "I won't do it." And he was in a very rural area, farm country, and it was still the mentality there of, hey, you go down the road, you find the neighbor, you go bake them a pie, you ask them to go hunt coyotes on their place or hunt deer or turkey or whatever it is, and we just go down there, talk to them, bring them some cookies. We get permission to go hunt. If we can help them around the place, chop wood, I think he said, whatever, stack firewood, take them some more cookies at Christmas or something. And it's just that good old country mentality, which is probably still a little bit present in some of farm country, more rural areas. But I'm going to tell you, he goes, "I just will never pay 1 cent to go on somebody's land and hunt." He goes, "I won't do it." He said, "I'll just give up hunting before I ever did it." And he was like very passionate about that. And I told him, I said, "Don't ever come to Texas because you're going to sell all your stuff." I was like, and I jokingly said, there's no such thing as free hunting in Texas. Now, that's not true, because I do know a lot of guys that have access to a lot of land, and they don't pay for it. Sometimes that just comes from getting a couple pieces of access, and then that person gets you the neighbor, and then the neighbor tells their buddy, and so some of that snowballs like anything else. But so at the end of the day, this is going to be my point. I'm talking about Texas, but I know this is true for a lot of areas. It may come down to the point that you've got to pay to play, and that may be going to that landowner and saying, "What would you charge me to come out here to shoot these hogs?" And you may say, "Well, I'm doing him a favor," and I get it. But, this is a business transaction. It depends on who thinks it's the most valuable. If he thinks it's the most valuable and he's getting the better end of the deal for you to come out and shoot his hogs, then he'll let you. If he doesn't, then he might be motivated by money. Maybe he says, "Hey, you know what? They're going to pay me $100 and come shoot my hogs." That's a fair deal, and it's a two-way street. And so I would just go one step further and say, I've talked to some guys who say, I'm not into deer hunting on the hunting clubs. That's kind of thing where there's, 50 members and it's several thousand acres and everybody's got their own little block. I'm not into that. But they pay the annual dues, which may be, depending on where it's at, maybe $300, $500, maybe $1,000. But they pay. And they make sure of this before they pay, that they have access during certain months of the year to hunt hogs at night. And usually there's nobody else there, because who's out there in, March, April, May, June, July, and August? And their deal is they know they're not going to be able to hunt that ground during or near a deer season, because the deer hunters may not want them there, whatever. And so they go out there, though, they end up with a lot of access on a lot of land where nobody else is at. They had to pay for it. And you say, "Well, I don't want to pay for it," or I get it. I get it, but it's, at the end of the day, that may be what it comes down to. So I think that's just the alternative. If you finally get to the point and you say, "We've asked all the neighbors, we don't know what else to do," the last option may just be trying to find out where you can go to spend the least amount of money to get some access to some land to to hunt pigs or coyotes, either
Well,
one. But I think
that's why
Hans's idea is great.
I think that's why leases are so popular. Getting on a hunting lease and people do that all the time, every year. So,
It is.
all
And
right,
yeah, I was just going to say, and it's been that way in Texas for
mhm.
50 or 60 years. I mean, this is,
Yeah.
and I know a lot of states that's crazy, the idea of paying to go hunt, but I'm just throwing
Yeah.
that out. At least down here in our country, it's very common. So if that's what you got to do. But now, in closing, I do want to say that Leighton sounded like a super guy, and I know what you're talking about. I talk to guys that are in your same boat. You're trying, you're beating the bushes, and all I can say is just keep beating them. And if you can ever get in with one person, then see if they can help you get some more land.
Yeah. And if you need to hunt, don't ask me because I need all the hogs I've got.
That's right.
I'm the only one allowed to shoot my hogs. You and I are kind of selfish with our hogs. So
We are. Well,
we don't.
I'm not near as selfish unless I know there's new optics coming out, because
Yeah,
you
exactly.
have the jinx of we've got a new optic to test, and you just know, okay, the hogs are going to disappear on me. So
Yeah.
we've got a lot of new stuff coming up soon, and I'm not going to lie, I have seen hogs a couple times where I'm like, maybe he'll be here next
Yeah.
week, and that's bad
You
because I
passed
never
on
come
some.
back. I have, but
You passed on some.
I try not to make that a habit.
All right. So I got another email. First of all, this is from Gary N. And he says, thanks for the show. You are doing a great job, entertaining and very informative. And he put very in all capital letters. So
Man,
I
that's
think
wow.
I mean, you have to take time to hit the caps lock button or,
Good.
the shift button for
He,
all those
he must
four
not
letters.
have he must not have listened to many people if he thinks we're very informative. But that's good. Thank you, Gary. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Gary N., for reaching out to us. Thanks for listening to the show. His question is regarding trail game cameras, and we've kind of mentioned it briefly on some past episodes. Never really spent a lot of time on it, but he's asking about the best settings for trail cameras, the number of shots, timing, that kind of stuff, and wants us to do some reviews on trail cameras. We might go into maybe some more specifics on a later show on certain types of trail cameras, but I'll start out by saying on that topic what I use. And Jason, there's so many of them out there.
And I was going to say, we're not experts on all the different brands, and we use what we use. And
so I personally use the Spartan texting game cameras. I don't think anybody's surprised. I haven't made it a secret because I know a lot of you see me during the show checking my phone because I'm getting pictures constantly and seeing if they're pigs. But I used three texting game cameras, and they're all three Spartan. Why did I choose Spartan? I don't know. I guess that's what I found the best deal on. I'm not loyal. I am not loyal at all to any brand when it comes to game cameras. I know a lot of buddies that have a lot of different brands. I know there's Spartan, Covert. I know Bushnell has an app-driven trail camera, Moultrie. Who else? Am I missing
I don't
anybody?
know. There's a lot. I'll just go ahead and say now, I use the Spartan as well. It emails me. I don't want the text, but it emails me. And I'll just tell you the reason I chose them. My brother has been into these for years, and I don't know how many he owns, over 10, and he keeps them running almost year round. He owns a large block of property up in northwest Oklahoma that he deer hunts, and he keeps them up there. I mean, it's 9 hours from here, so he keeps up year round of what's going on at his feeders and protein feeders and stuff, and he's had excellent luck with them. So that's just the brand I went with as well, because I only needed one at the time, and I'm like, if this guy's got this many, he's happy.
Yeah.
So I don't have any partiality other than that's what I've used and like it. And just to be clear, like you said, you've got them texting you, I guess. Is that what they do? They text you?
Yeah. It sends me a direct text.
I got you.
But I do know there are, like, I think with Covert, with Bushnell, with Moultrie, it's actually an app that you download onto your phone, and you'll get a notification to that app. So basically from the game camera, it sends it to the app, which is stored in your app on your phone, sends you a notification saying you've got a new picture in the app. But the Spartan game camera that I have goes directly to my text messages. So I get a text like a normal text that's with a picture. And so, I don't think one style is better than the other, the app or just direct text. Like I said, I've got buddies that use the coverts, and they love them. And it seems,
I think that I'm just going to say this. One thing to think about is how you want to get these updates. And I'm just going to say real quick, interject here. I wanted to get the updates at certain times and not others. So obviously you put your phone on vibrate and you won't get some of these updates. But for me, I put my phone on vibrate every night. I don't want to be, woken up. But there was a time when we had a hog getting up here actually in my mom's yard, literally in the yard. We were trying to find out when he was coming between 4 and 6 a.m. And so I actually set it to come for the emails to come to a separate email address. And on my phone, I was able to put a different tone that would come on even when the phone was set to vibrate. So I had to dig into the settings to figure this out, because I don't want that every night. I wanted to be able to turn that off. But when I did want it, I wanted to be able to hear it in the middle of the night, to be able to get up, go over there, shoot the hog, and not be woken up by the emails and the text and all the other apps going off.
Right. So as far as that, the Spartan game cameras, I know work really well. The cell phone reception, now ours are on, you have to pick your plan, Verizon or AT&T. I don't know, those are different. Our coverage, Verizon's really the only coverage out here in our neck of the woods that is worth a darn. Speaking of going off, you can get a picture of a game.
I was going to say something's going off on my phone right now. I don't know what. Yeah, what? Yeah.
Well, so I put that out there, and it seems to do pretty well. From the time that the picture is taken to the time that it gets to my phone is about. I've looked at it, it's about 2 minutes. So there's about a 2 minutes of actual. Real-time picture taken until it hits my phone is about 2 minutes. Gives me enough time to, the holes that I have baited out are 10 minutes away in some cases. So it gives me enough time to drive out there if I can, if there's a hog out there. Now, one thing I do want to discuss is delay time on pictures. And one thing I do, because you have to purchase certain plans, like you buy a package and you pay per month for a package, and you get so many pictures within this package plan per price. And if anybody that baits a hole and puts out a game camera, you'll get deer that'll sit at that hole for, seems like hours, and just eat corn, and your phone will be going off. A lot of times I'll wake up and each camera will have about 50 pictures on it, and most of the time it's all deer.
Right.
So I only have that camera going off, and I probably could set it every 5 minutes. I have it going off every minute.
That's still close. Yeah, that's
still pretty close. But I know a lot of people that do it about 5 minutes. I know some people that do it every 10 seconds.
Oh man!
But it just depends on how much deer you have in your area. We're covered up with deer, so I have it going off at every 1 minute, a 1 minute delay, I guess. So that means. Every minute it will, if there's motion in front of that camera, it'll take a picture. So it'll take a picture, wait a minute. If there's more motion, take another picture. And, that's the delay that I set on the phone. I could really even get by with 2 or 3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes.
That's how I've got what mine set is 2 to 3 minutes. Just because, like you said, I've got so many deer and they'll stand there all night. And sometimes I'll put these on a spot with one of those pig pipes, the PVC pipes full of corn, and those hogs may stay there 30, 45 minutes if they get to work in that pipe. So I set mine a little bit longer.
So, with doing that, I know we're just trying to limit the amount of pictures that I get per night. And that helps to cut it down. Now, I also get a lot of questions from people. Jason, a buddy of mine, Chase. How you doing, Chase? Give him a shout out. He's a good hunt. Him and Chase and Blake. I'm going to say hi to both of them. Good hunting buddies of mine. They both got brand new Bushnell, the game cameras that send the phone to the app, and they love them. They've been waiting for 10 months for these cameras to come out, and they pre-ordered them, waited patiently, and they came in and got them. But, one of the things, Chase has got a pretty wide open piece of property. It's a kind of a nursery. They grow, all kinds of different plants and bushes and stuff. It's pretty spread out. And he was getting with me and sending me maps. Hey, where should I put this camera? And for me, man, that is all about strategies. And I take that very seriously, where to put a bait hole, where to put the camera. And what I look for when I'm placing a camera is I want to be able to walk up to that hog up until about 50 yards. And I want that stalk. If you can possibly, I want to be hidden almost that whole time. So I'll put it, at the end of a trail, that opens up into a field or something that I can walk up and they can't see me until I get to my point where I'm going to take a shot. And, I also look at shooting lanes, so I know if I put my camera in my bait pile here, I've got a good shooting lane right here, and I know I have an open field, so if they run. So keep all of that in mind when you're placing that camera. What's most important is the stalk up. You want to try to be hidden as much as possible on that stalk up. You don't want to be stalking out in the wide open, because I'll tell you, if you got a full moon or something else like that, it's very difficult, especially on a full moon night or a night when there's not a lot of wind. You're making a lot of noise, so it helps to be concealed up until that point of where you're going to set up to take a shot.
Also, don't forget about the wind. You need to be coming in with either the prevailing wind in your face or at least a crosswind. And I mean, I know a lot of times down here in East Texas, we don't have a lot of wind, especially in the summer months at night. But there could be a slight breeze, that's something that you don't even know about, that's just coming out of the prevailing whatever direction. For us, it's normally going to be south. And so you just want to be sure that there's it would make no sense if you've got a northern prevailing wind. You do not want to be walking with that wind at your back the whole way in. You're going to get spooked out a whole lot of times.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's a good point. All those conditions are going to help you set up the best shot possible. Being able to get up, set up, have a good pre-shot plan going on, know what you're going to do. Also, Jason, with Gary's email, he was talking about the trail camera picture quality and durability and all that. I think all of them are pretty durable. I mean, we've had ours for years, and they're still working.
Yeah, I want to be clear. I was going to say, we're specifically talking about the cell cameras, because if we're talking about regular cameras, that's just a even larger, endless, and I mean, the cell cameras are that same way now too, but we're talking about cell cameras or, specifically. The regular game cameras that don't text, I mean, gosh, all of them will work, and as far as picture quality, there's different setting modes. Sometimes you can, a high quality picture or a medium or a low. I don't really care the quality of the picture. I just want to be able to tell what it is. So I usually set it on medium. Yeah.
I set the sensitivity on medium because sometimes if you put it on high sensitivity, if the grass is blowing and it's a windy day, it's going to trip it off 100 times. So, medium sensitivity, medium, because also the quality of the picture, that's how much data that picture is using. I don't want to get too far into the technical stuff, but, as far as the quality of the picture, I don't care how quality it is.
You're not framing them and sending them to the family, so.
I might post a few on Instagram, but other than that,
it's funny you mentioned that about the getting them wind or something moving and the sensitivity. I had one out last year, and I actually had it way back in the woods across a big creek, and had it on a trail during deer season. And so I had the thing set for pictures every 10 seconds, because it might have been less than, might have been like 5 seconds, because it was just going to be deer or hogs or whatever walking this trail. So I knew there wasn't going to be a lot. It was great. I'd left it there, gotten a lot of great pictures, bobcats and stuff, and hogs. Well, I didn't get many pictures, just kind of that time of year, started warming up, greening up. And all of a sudden one day the wind kind of picked up, and I started getting emails from that camera. And I guess like the green stuff and the vines and all had grown up there in those woods, and that wind was blowing it. And I had 190 emails in no joke, in just like a couple hours, and I couldn't put the phone down, just zit zit zit, just vibrating, going off, and I had to quit what I was doing. I had to go hike back there, wade across this creek to go and find that camera in the woods and drag it out of there, just because the sensitivity was high and the stuff had grown up around it and the wind started blowing. So yeah, be careful of that because it'll wear you out.
Yeah. And I was just looking, since we've been on this podcast, I've gotten 22 pictures of deer just on one camera.
Wow.
So
there you
I'm
go.
telling you, your phone will get blown up with that. But again, to wrap it all up, all of them out there are pretty good. The names that we listed are pretty good. If you have any further questions about that kind of stuff, please continue to send in your emails. Like Jason said, any topics, we're going to be discussing more coming up on different shows. But we are, I know I keep going back to it, man. I'm so excited about our upcoming interviews, not just Glenn, but I know we've got some more interviews planned that are really good. And thank y'all for listening this week.
Absolutely, y'all. It's been another great show. We appreciate it, and I know we're just beating this dead horse, but send us your topics, send us your questions. If it's a small question, maybe something we can answer on the show or real quickly. If it's something more long, drawn out, that's fine. If it's basic, that's great. If it's in depth, we don't care. We want to hear about it. And you can call us and leave that voicemail at 903-833-4461. You can send emails to thelatenightvisionshow@gmail.com. As always, you can find us on all the social medias. The Late Night Vision Show is on Facebook, Instagram, obviously YouTube, and all the major podcast apps. You can find us just by searching The Late Night Vision Show. Hans,
Can I add one more thing that I completely forgot? I was going to mention earlier. Hansi's Texas hats are for sale, and they are on the OutdoorLegacyGear.com website.
That's
you can
right.
now order Hansi's Texas hats. Go to the OutdoorLegacyGear.com, type in Hans ETX hat or cap or whatever. It'll pull it right up. So go check those out. We've already gotten orders.
I know. I couldn't believe it. He had me put this thing on there, and I was like, "Who's going to want that ugly old?" No, I did not. But I was shocked. I mean, he's gotten an order every day, and I was like, "You got to be kidding!" I tell you what, he's fixing to quit his day job. I can already tell. Yeah. He's going to be the just selling Hans ETX gear. That's all he's doing. Yeah, check those out at OutdoorLegacyGear.com. While you're there, check out Night Vision thermal scopes. Feel free to give us a call. 877-350-1818. I will be glad to answer any of your questions about night vision and thermal, pre-purchase advice. Just tell you what I think might help you out, and just, again, help you any way I can with the thermal or night vision purchase. You can also find me on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. And be sure, after you get that Hans ETX cap, to go to YouTube and subscribe to the Hans East Texas YouTube channel to see all those great weekly videos. You can also check Hans out on Instagram and follow him there. Folks, we appreciate your support for this show. We appreciate your feedback. We appreciate all the kind words. We talk to a lot of you on the phone when you're calling to buy scopes, and it always means a lot to us when you tell us that you listen to the show, and it really does. We like to talk to our listeners and know that we're not just out here talking to dead air, Hans and I, talking amongst ourselves. So, again, thanks for tuning in every week. Like, subscribe, follow, and we will, good Lord willing, and the creek don't rise, be back here again next week with another episode. So thanks, and stay safe in the fields.